All right. Well, hello there, everybody, and welcome to the debut episode of One Guy, One Beer. Um, I am Nick Ostick. Thank you for joining us here on our maiden voyage, as it were. Spring, I think, is here. I think it has finally arrived in the Midwest, as evident probably by the sun streaming in, if you can see it. Well, you can't see it, but the windows that I'm looking out, the sun is just mainlining in, and it's quite wonderful. We've had an awful winter, and it finally seems like it's over. So it's a good day to launch the show here. I starting to think I had a touch of seasonal affective disorder, I think. But then again, I think I've said this before to people I know. Doesn't everyone kind of have that, really? I mean, not to downplay or dog an entire, condition or issue that people struggle with, but I don't know, man. When you're on like day 10 in a row of just dark, dreary, sunless, the high for the day, the warmest part of the day, it's like -10. You start to get up inside your own head a little bit, I think. You can get up in the morning and you look in the mirror and you're just like, oof, no, not good, not good. But that is all behind us. So we are pretty geeked about that here in the middle part of the country. So a little bit about the show and about myself before we get started. We're going to do this weekly here, about 15-20 minutes per show, so just long enough for you to watch it on your lunch break or waiting for a train or a bus, and on whether it's at your laptop or your desk or on whatever gizmo that you use. So just quick enough that you can take it in, hopefully enjoy it, and then kind of get on with your day. As evident in the title of the show, we're going to do one beer per show. My goal and my hope is to drink rather and discuss and sort of give recommendations or my opinions on beers that are fairly affordable and pretty easily got, depending on where you are, obviously, but for the most part, beers that you can get your hands on. As a beer nerd, I listen to a lot of different beer podcasts and video shows and things like that. And one issue I sometimes run into is that the beers that are discussed or that are, brought to light are beers that I know I'm never going to be able to experience just because of, they're super rare, they're super hard to get, or they're just really, really expensive. I mean, I work a 9-to-5 job. I have 9-to-5 job preoccupations and things like that. So my hope is to talk about beers that you can get that won't break the bank. Something you can pick up on a Friday night, way home, and spend $10-12 on for something like like this here, 22-ounce bomber. But something that's well made. Something that is tasty and that you can get without worrying about your other financial what have yous. So. A little bit about me. I am in no way an expert on the subject of craft beer. I'm not a cicerone or a certified beer server or anything like that, which is really, when you boil it down, what you want in a host of some sort of show is someone with little to no credentials, right? I mean, isn't that what we're all kind of going for? But what I am is I'm someone who over the past couple of years has really developed a love and a passion for craft beer, for the whole brewing process, and I firmly believe in the whole thing that really good beer, like a great meal, can bring people together and forge connections. And I don't know if you can hear that. I'm doing laundry, and the sink is gurgling. Must have kicked in some cycle downstairs in the basement with the laundry. So there's that. But anyway, I really believe in its ability to bring people together, and I just wanted to share that with you guys, and hopefully, you get something out of it. You know, you spend 20 minutes of your day, I drink something tasty, and you think, hey, I might want to try that too. And if that's the result, then I'm pretty satisfied. So, on the show too, we'll also, I'll talk about beers I've had recently, or any recommendations that I have, or if there's, things happening in the whole craft beer industry. We can talk about that kind of stuff too, and we'll sort of see where we go. On that note, recommendation-wise, last night, wife and I had a nice little tasting and got to finally got to try sort of one of the standard bearers in the industry of stouts, of chocolate stouts. It was Brooklyn Brewery's Black Chocolate Stout. Amazing beer, obviously, super rich, super chocolatey, but extremely drinkable, and just a really, 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 really great beer. So if you come across that, Brooklyn Brewery's Black Chocolate Stout, definitely pick that up. Yeah, one of the big highlights of what we had last night during the tasting. So, but today on the debut show, really excited to try this beer. Excuse me, a beer from Pigmines Brewing Company in Chesney Park, Illinois. A brewery that really has a special place in my heart for a lot of different reasons, but definitely something that I was excited to get my hands on, and so I'm excited to share with you guys. Pigmines, like I said, is out of Chesney Park, which is basically, I don't want to use the word a suburb of Rockford, but it kind of is a suburb of Rockford. Like, it's kind of like, I don't know, like Chesney Park is getting a piggyback ride from Rockford. Like, that's how close they are. They're right on top of each other. Pigmines opened, oh, geez, that was gross. Some spit there on the table, right out of the mouth. Pigmines opened in 2012. And one of the reasons that it's got such holds so many great memories for me is that they opened right when my wife and I sort of moved to that part of the country, to the Rockford area. I had just, spin cycle kicked on downstairs. I don't know if you can hear it, but it's vibrating up the chair. Wife and I had just moved to that area. I had just finished up my graduate work. I have a master's degree in English, and surprise, surprise, the master's degree in English, you finish that up, it's not necessarily something that really prompts employers to line up begging for your services. The jobs don't come a knocking when you finally get that designation. So we moved back in with my parents at the time. And that was great. That was, they were wonderful. But when you are unemployed and, recently married and living with your parents, one finds himself, or can find himself, becoming, rather thirsty quite frequently, and perhaps in need of the only reprieve that a fermented beverage can provide. So the brewery had just opened up. Sort of, it was very near my parents' house. So my wife and I would go there quite often, and it was a nice little sort of, I don't know, oasis or haven to sort of hide away when we needed to. And they had, like I said, so they were so new to the scene. No one had really kind of figured them out yet, or knew that they were what they were up to. So it kind of felt like our little place, our little, part of the world that we had just to ourselves. So, if you're ever in the area, great beer, good food, definitely check them out. So today what we're going to be tasting and talking about is their Joe Daddy Imperial Coffee Stout. I don't know if you guys can see that there. They have amazing label art. Got like the German weightlifter, complete with curly mustache, which I guess now really has been co-opted by hipsters. But yeah, dynamite label art. Gotta love the pigs, right? Yeah, awesome stuff. But yeah, the Joe Daddy Imperial Coffee Stout, obviously with spring in the air, it makes sense to break out what I think will be a nice robust stout, right? That, of course, makes total sense. a little bit about this beer. It's 8.5% ABV. Not sure on the IBUs on it. It's available in these 22-ounce bombers and on draft throughout the northern Illinois area. I've seen a couple different beer bars put it on draft. The brewer's notes here, they say it's their take on a coffee stout. It's brewed with 2 gallons of molasses, 100 pounds of brown sugar, and 5 pounds of Guatemalan coffee. So that sounds like it's going to be quite delicious. Just real quick, stylistically about, make sure that's lined up. Stylistically about coffee stouts. It's definitely one of my favorite types of stouts, or favorite types of beers in general. I mean, stouts, yes, but definitely coffee-infused stouts and porters. They usually can kind of go one of 2 ways in terms of that coffee flavor. And this is a little bit general, but more times than not, this is sort of the way that it will shake out. You can have sort of that really bitter, kind of astringent, like coffee grounds, like that kind of flavor. Or it can go sort of the way of actual brewed coffee, kind of like cold brew coffee, where it's a little richer, it's a little creamier, it's not quite as bitter. So it can kind of go one of those 2 ways. I'm excited to see which way this one goes. I've not had this beer before, I don't believe. Well, I think I might have had a small tasting, like a Binny's once. It's like a 2-ounce sample, but not enough to really register an opinion on it. So I'm excited to. Let's crack it open here and let it come up to temperature just a little bit. Picked a fine time to do this. I got guys mowing the lawn outside. I don't know if you can hear. Got a dog in the next room chewing on a bone. So definitely a lot going on here in the Ostic Manor this Sunday afternoon. So let's give this a quick pour here. I should also say too. I'm not going to do or bother to do any kind of rankings or ratings for this beer. I'm not going to bother to do sort of a beer advocate, on a 100-point scale, or rate beer kind of shtick on a 5-point scale. Really what I'm just going to do is going to come down to, would I drink this again, or would I seek it out again, right? Like if I knew that a store across town had this in stock, or if I knew, some store in the next town over had this on their shelf, would I go get it, right? Would I sort of go out of my way to get this beer and try it again? That's really what this is going to be about. So, kind of vague. That's not really a precise scale, but at the end of the day, that's kind of what you want, right? I mean, at the end of the day, to enjoy a beer, it's really comes down to, would you get it again? Would you go find it? Would you want to experience that beer a second, third, fourth time? Whatever. So, going to give this a quick pour here. Just a little bit. That's probably good enough to start with. Just a little sampling there. Recap that bad boy. She does not want to go back on. She's a stubborn one. There we go. All right, hot damn. So, checking the beer out. Hold it up to just get a little bit in the light there. You can't see it because there's. Yeah, the camera's not going to let you see. But holding up to the light, I mean, it's pretty jet black. A little bit of sort of brown highlights when I hold it up. Almost a little bit of really, really dark red, actually, when I hold it up to the light. Decent head, not great. A couple fingers maybe. Hangs around pretty nicely. Give it a little agitated, obviously. Give it a little swirl. When it comes to tasting beer and experiencing beer, I'm of the mindset that, yeah, you're going to do some things that are going to make you look kind of foolish. You're going to do some things that, if you're out at a bar or what have you, or with family and friends, people, you're going to get some looks. You're going to get some of those looks where it's like, oh, God, is that guy really doing that? Is he really going to, stick his nose all the way in the glass and swirl it around? That's going to happen. And to me, I'm of the mindset that if you're out to really enjoy the experience of drinking a craft beer, or anything, whether it's a glass of wine or a cocktail, if you're out to really enjoy the drinking experience, you're going to do things that are foolish, and that's okay. You're going to look a little bit silly, but I think in the end it's worth it. Yeah, the wife just said, she's had to experience a multitude of swirlings and sniffings and that kind of thing, and that's okay. I'm cool with that. So, but yeah, definitely agitating it. Head comes back. It's nice. It's kind of creamy. As you can see, it's pillowy head a little bit there. Brown espresso colored. Actually, if you look down right in the glass, really pretty beer. It looks just like the espresso I had this morning. So I think that bodes well. I mean, even just agitating it now, I'm already getting the aroma. I'm getting that roasted sort of, that stout quality, right? That deep roast that you get from a stout. That smells good. Coffee. I mean, obviously coffee on the nose, but almost like a mocha quality, definitely. There's some chocolate in there, some dark chocolate. Yeah, there's a creaminess to the nose. It's almost like a coffee with cream and sugar in it. Some vanilla notes in there too, definitely. A lot of sweetness in the nose, a lot, and some alcohol too. You can definitely tell that there's some booze here. You get actually a big chunk of that 8.5% in the aroma. It's not off-putting, but you know it's there. You know this is gonna be a big beer. So I don't know. At least it kind of announces itself, and there's something to be said for that. Yeah, caramel toffee. You can definitely the brown sugar note is pretty pronounced. They're not lying when they say whatever it was 100 pounds of brown sugar. I mean, that's definitely pretty apparent. But really nice, really really pleasing aroma. Going for a sip now. So definitely a little misleading from the aroma for me, at least. I expected a little more creaminess. I expected a little more body. It's kind of thin bodied. It's a little watery almost. Doesn't really have that sort of big sort of mouth coating sensation that I personally like with a stout, especially with a sweeter stout like this, when it's got those brown sugars, that coffee note, that chocolate note. I kind of like it to be pretty viscous in the mouth, and this is definitely a little thinner. It's definitely got a nice bit of bitterness on the end, so it dries out pretty nicely. The taste really is very similar to the nose. A ton of coffee, kind of actually straddles the line between sort of that bitter coffee ground kind of thing and that brewed coffee thing. It kind of actually walks a fine tightrope between them. Not sure if that's a good thing or a bad thing. I'm not sure how I feel about that. If it doesn't have an identity, or if it's trying to do something complex by walking that tightrope. But yeah. Yeah, you don't get a ton of that sort of creamy vanilla-y-ness that was in the nose. Good amount of roast here, definitely. Yeah, like I said, just a little bit disappointing in the mouthfeel. It's kind of thin. Wanted something a little bit heftier, a little more robust, especially to carry those big flavors. Yeah. Alcohol is prevalent. It's there. I mean, again, maybe not quite as big as it announced itself in the aroma, but it's there. I mean, you definitely you can feel it sort of not so much in the finish, but you definitely get it sort of as it traverses your mouth. You can feel it. It's definitely there. The finish is kind of lacking as well. I mean, it's It's not a bad finish, but it does just kind of wash away. It's kind of the beer comes out right up front, and then just sort of doesn't have as interesting or as full of a finish as I would hope. But still, at the end of the day, a pretty tasty coffee stout, I have to say. It says around the bottle, strong coffee flavor, and they were not kidding about that. They fulfilled that expectation for sure. Would I get it again? I think I would. I think it's definitely a beer to at least try. Would I seek it out again? Yeah, I think so. I think it might be an interesting dessert beer, actually. Might pair well with some kind of, if you had like a creme brulee or some kind of, I don't know, almost like maybe like a tres leches kind of cake, like something like that might be interesting with it. But yeah, I would definitely seek this beer out again. Yeah, interesting beer, kind of fun. But what might be really interesting actually is if you were to seek it out, maybe buy 2 bottles and sort of have one now and sit on one and see how it develops a little bit. Coffee beers, more times than not, that coffee fades pretty quickly. Kind of like IPAs, like you don't want to cellar IPAs, obviously, because the hops will fade and die off. And the coffee note in these types of beers can do that pretty quickly as well. But it could be interesting to have one now and one 3 months from now and see how it goes. But yeah, tasty beer. So that was the Pig Minds Brewing Company Joe Daddy Imperial Coffee Stout. Pretty widely available. It's about 10 or 11 bucks, somewhere in there. If you like coffee, if you like a stout that is satisfying but doesn't necessarily bowl you over in terms of the mouthfeel or in terms of alcohol content, definitely one you might want to check out. Well, that's going to be it for the first episode of One Guy, One Beer. Thank you for tuning in. If you guys want to write into the show, drop me a line, recommend beers, anything like that, you can do that at oneguyOneBeer@gmail.com. Drop me a line. I'll get back to you as soon as I possibly can. We will see you guys next week. And until then, go get this beer, and I'm going to keep drinking.